Hi friends,
Hi everybody.
and welcome to a very special edition of the Collective Awakening podcast on the road. Okay, and we're currently at Banbury Farm, beautiful surroundings.
In Oxfordshire, which is a beautiful county. We've gone through 3 counties in the UK. We started off in Somerset, which will explain a little bit why we started the road trip, and then we went up to Wiltshire, and now we're in Oxfordshire. So Chris, do you let everybody know why we've done this amazing road trip?
And where it started was a few months ago. You might have seen a few episodes back on the Collective Awakening podcast. We did a podcast, a special one with Rob Tweedy, a spiritual medium, and at the end he passed along a message. Rob works a little bit with past life regression as well, so he can bring that in on his messages, and he felt he was picking up on a past life where I had something to do with astrology, and I was in the community around that area of Avebury, and at the time it was quite a difficult, lots of lessons in that life, shall we say, but he felt that if I was to visit there, that I would have something really significant occur in terms of the connection with the energy. And I found it really profound. You can backtrack it on the episode if you want to watch, if you're interested. And that night, I'd never heard of Avebury to begin with.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, which I feel silly now, but I didn't. And that night I googled it, instantly found that it was one of the largest stone circles in the world, and there were many significant areas around it. So myself and Stephen was quite happy to come on the road trip.
I think I had no choice.
So what occurred then is we decided it was how it was going to fall in. We're very much, when things align, when it's meant to be. So we had a couple of false starts, and then we found ourselves end of August, beginning of September, where we are now, that it landed perfectly, and we thought it was a great opportunity to get some things off our list as well.
So a lot of our friends, the reason we came down to Glastonbury, because a lot of our friends who are in the spiritual community, plant medicine community, visit Glastonbury either on the winter solstice, summer solstice. Me and you again have never. We're not hermits, but our little centre, the Purple Mountain, we love it. But we thought a great opportunity to go down and visit Glastonbury as well.
So we thought we'd go to Glastonbury and a few other areas, make the most of the visit. Of course, us being located in Fleetwood. So Stephen very wisely sort of mapped out the whole tour and put it all together, didn't you?
Well, we wanted to start. Well, I thought it would be great to start off with going down, starting off Glastonbury and then working ourselves up to Avebury, see what we can find there. A lot of it was part of our intuition as well. We're going to book those areas, but also be guided by the energies, and then finish off, which is Chris's favourite place, because he's been watching it on TV, which is the Squat Farm with Jeremy Clarkson, which we are actually tomorrow. We're visiting his farm tomorrow.
So we found ourselves right here now in the Cotswolds, which I've never been, and I can tell you, you can see the sky behind us, but we're just looking at the most beautiful sunset that is behind this camera.
Well, what is this place called? The Cotswolds?
Yeah, this area. And it's absolutely beautiful. There's some sheep behind us, donkeys that we've already met on this lovely place.
I nicked a few apples from the tree and from the local farm there, from the tree, and I fed them to the donkeys. Chris filmed it. I think what we'll do, we'll post some pictures and stuff with the podcast, with this a short podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So what did we feel? That's probably what you're all wanting to know, and especially I'm sure there's lots and lots of people who are going to watch this and say, well, I've been there. So feel free to have your comments and have your say as well. That's really important. So Glastonbury, I'll start with me. The minute we got there, I felt the energy was sort of very, very clear, very high vibration. Everybody seemed to be very in the true self when you walked around. Certainly in a kind of way quite psychedelic, in the fact of I've never seen so many crystal shops in one place, and there was a lot of people. It just seemed to me, that was my first impressions, that a lot of people were just being the true self. Very sort of higher chakra energy for me, very crown chakra, third chakra opening. And what did you think, Stephen? What were your first impressions?
My first impressions, I was in awe, because walking from behind, I think, St John's Church, from the car park, and then getting onto the main high street, it just felt the vibration resonated with me, with all the crystal shops and all the. I mean, you're going to get the commercial side in every place, but energetically, I felt all right. I felt okay in the actual town side, and
But what did you feel?
I felt. Well, that's a good question.
You're going around the houses.
To be honest, I felt quite good until I walked into one of the herbal shops, and I felt boom. I felt like my heart chakra opened. Where they did all the smudging. I think it was called the Star Child shop, but don't quote me on that. And I just felt my third eye buzzing. It was like a buzzing vibrational sound. So that was the first thing that I felt really, really strong.
Plane going over
us. So I felt really, really good. Me. So as we walked,
a really good place for us to. What I found is almost like you're plugging into that energy. I could imagine if I stayed there for quite a while, I can only speak of the area we went to, that it could get almost quite intense because you're very open. There was a lot of very open people there, psychically, spiritually, the way to put it as well. We made a few purchases while we were there as well, but a good place also to tap into that energy. There was some places like you find with anywhere that you find more authentic than others as well. But overall, I really enjoyed Glastonbury. But I felt like we started at the top, the crown chakra energy.
Yeah, the only thing as well is, you look back and you analyse the energy. I felt that possibly, I mean, the community side I really enjoyed, like you mentioned before about the community. I felt I could imagine myself living there because it was like so many like-minded people, but also what I picked up as well, that there was an undercurrent on the distortion on religion a little bit with the spirituality of religion, where I felt that maybe, obviously Glastonbury is a very, very old place, and if you know the history of it a little bit, when the churches come in and they've imprinted a lot of that, I felt a little bit of that there as well. Not in a negative way, but some of our favourite shops. Chris, what was the African shop like that you went?
Yeah, there was a fantastic African shop, and what I found is as well, what I found throughout this whole trip, I mean, like I said, I'm only taking a snapshot, is people they were really friendly as well. Really open. I didn't come across anybody who was unpleasant. You're walking up what's the main street really, and we stopped for some food and things like that. Everybody was really pleasant, really open. We had some good conversations with people. So that's Glastonbury really. It was fantastic.
Well, don't forget, we went up to Glastonbury tour as well.
Yes.
And I don't know how many times I got stung by nettles purposely, because I suffer with hay fever. And everybody said, sting yourself with nettles, and I've still got the markings all on my arms, all on my legs. So and that was what did you feel when you walked up?
When I really enjoyed now this is quite funny, I'm going to share something with you, that when Stephen was saying we're going on the Glastonbury tour, and I thought there was somebody going to take us on a tour, like a tour guide, and he said no, it's that at the top of this big hill, and I was like, oh, fantastic. And I'll tell you something now, I got sort of changed because I was wearing a jumper at the time and jeans, and I thought I need to get changed into shorts, and I'm glad I did because it was so warm. Quite a walk up, but I really enjoyed that. And when I got to the top, it was so cool. I really enjoyed the energy. And when I got to the top of where the Glastonbury tour is, there was lots of people that sat very relaxed again. It was very peaceful. I really enjoyed getting to the top. I know we sort of sat there for a few moments, but I could have led there and really chilled out for a while.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't realise how many steps there were, and it tells you how unfit I was. But once I got there, I think the climb down was a lot better. But definitely worth going up. I personally, it felt very calming. We sort of lay down on our backs, and we're at the side of the embankment. And we had a bit of a meditation. That was really nice. That really ground. But I was just ready to get up and then go back down. And we saw some of the fountains. We didn't try any of the water fountain side, did we?
No, we didn't on that. But it's good. What we felt we wanted to do is not rush any of the experiences that we were having, and there's always other times. So then we stayed somewhere local, which was a bit different but nice, pleasant. And we feel like we've started, our energies have gone do. it's been different at the 3 stages
Yeah.
that we've had of this
Yeah.
journey. So then we moved on to what would be the focal point of what brought us on this journey altogether, Avebury.
And just before you go to Avebury, would you go back to Glastonbury?
100%.
Yeah, I would love to go back again and go to that copper shop, because that copper shop with the ring and jewellery, got some nice jewellery from there as well. We like the authentic, the different stuff, don't we, with the jewellery. But Avebury, so we went up from Glastonbury, drove up to Avebury, and it was, for me personally, as we drove up, a very different energy. It felt a lot more lower chakras, a lot more grounding, very much of the earth, very old, probably older than Glastonbury, I don't know, but I just felt it was very much older, and I felt that I sort of was a lot more open spiritually there at Avebury than maybe comparing to Glastonbury, which was again for different energy. So my personal thing, I'm glad we did, which was anybody going to Avebury is extra, for a £5 per person. It's definitely worth it of having that tour.
Yes, definitely, and I think that's an important, experience to have. I felt very much the same. It felt coming off a very sort of almost a very open experience in Glastonbury, coming just a bit lower down and being a little bit more grounded, a bit more settled in Avebury. I'm glad we did the tour. 100%. I didn't know what to expect, because I've seen like the aerial shots. I didn't know if it was just an open ground and everybody went and there wasn't very much around, but there is actually there's a museum, there's a little cafe, it's an entire centre, and like a little village really.
There's a big manor, but that was closed down because they had a big flood. But we didn't come back, we didn't go for that, did we?
Yeah, so we decided to take the tour, and it was a proper tour, not a building. And the tour guide was a lovely guy, obviously a volunteer from the National Trust, and really great information as we were going around. And I think, why not have the full experience when you go anywhere? I learned a lot more, including about Alexander Keeler, who was what a great guy he was. Looking, if what we're being told is to believe, he played a major part in restoring that site back to how it was. But what stood out to me before we start anything, I'll sort of hand over to you in a minute, Stephen, is the what would you call that sort of goes around it? The henge itself. That the first question the guide asked is, what did you think that was for? And somebody mentioned, is it protection? They used to do them outside the castle walls, but this was inside in a way. And I found that fascinating, and they mentioned that, how deep did they say?
9 metres.
9 metres, which was basically, you would have had water going around it, wouldn't you? Which I found very.
Well, I think
right.
the thing we both picked up really, really strong with the henge is basically a big ditch. Not all henges will have stones within them as well. That's why Avebury is really unique. But you could imagine during the Neolithic times, we're looking at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 years ago, where the people who would have lived in Britain at that time, the landscape, everything looked very different. But one thing he probably did agree with us with, the spirit of water, of how water played a key role in the sort of the sacredity and the divinity of our people, and how the water was connected to life and things like that.
And even the tour guide mentioned, and he wasn't of a nature, so we of talking about the spiritual aspects as such, but he had to say that there is a connection between the water and some kind of spiritual practice, which absolutely so. There is a connection in many cultures that way.
But there was so much water that they would say to different times of the year, the ditch or the henge would be filled with water. And what I actually saw spiritually, psychically, is actually people going and cleansing themselves in that water. But I saw more of Avebury being spiritually a place where people would come from all the different. They wouldn't have had cities and big towns. They would have lived in small communities, and I would guess the astrological side, though, where we talk about Stonehenge being very astrological. That was not far away from Avebury actually, but we weren't drawn to go there energetically. So for me, Avebury is a very magical, energetic place. The stones are absolutely humongous, aren't they?
It reminded me, and it might seem a strange comparison to when we went to Egypt many years ago, and I was quite struck when I went to Egypt, and you're looking at the stones and the weight, and they mention this, and something like it being 100 times stronger than granite, and how on earth that they were placed in the times that you're talking about, and it just really opens up your mind. And even the tour guide very openly admitted, said that there's a lot we don't know.
I mean, there was no language then. There was no language
so
then.
They're just trying to piece things together. But when you look at the mass of these stones, they're absolutely huge. Anybody who's been there. So we took time after the tour to sort of place our hands on the stones. I took a crystal that I wanted to charge
the crystal up, didn't you?
We took a few pictures. We walked around it about 2 or 3 times in total. We went in the centre, so we really took our time. And for me, really enjoyed the experience. I'm so happy I went, and really I couldn't believe it. Almost like, wow, this is a great place to come, energetically. And also to know these things, to know about, I mean, we talk about South America, Egypt, all these wonderful sites, but look where we're living. What's here where we're living?
Avebury is one of the biggest stone circles probably in the world. People talk about Stonehenge.
And one of many in this country as well.
And the tour guide said that 90% of Avebury is They've not even scratched the surface.
Excavated it.
Not excavated it.
90%, which is unbelievable. And they said there's some stones that were never brought back up, and they know they're down there because they've used modern technology to scan. And I find it fascinating that they don't bring them back up, because they wouldn't be causing too much disturbance. It was only grass there really to bring them back up. So I found that bit fascinating. I'm going to do a lot more research, and I think that's the great things about these experiences is a really great experience opened you up to go, well, I want to do my own research now. So I feel that's where I'm at personally.
Yeah, I just want to, me and Chris, after go into these places, what we'll do then, we'll have a chat and we'll go back to the hotel room or the B&B where we're stopping, and we have a bit of a chat. And I think, I don't know what the listeners are, what your thoughts are, is about it's these saving or looking after these sort of ancient structures. For me, it's absolutely amazing. We need to go back. I think there's a need for humans, there's a reason why we're going back to our past, to look at our past, to where we've really come from, but also there has to be that balance. You talk about it, don't
a reawakening. I did, and it's the balance between, I totally understand, because these sites have been damaged mostly from religious practices, modern day ones, and obviously we want to preserve things, but also what struck me when we went yesterday, you could hear all these wonderful animals are having their say, is when we went to Silbury Hill.
Silbury Hill.
Yeah, Silbury. And we did that actually this morning. We couldn't get it in yesterday. And we found that fantastic, but you could not get near it. Now, I understand that they're concerned about the structure, that it's not, messed with or damaged. But I also feel like Stephen mentioned there that there's a fine line. We should be, some things are always to be kept in under like a glass bowl. There has to be a balance. Things have to be protected 100% because there are people out there who will damage them.
I mean, you had that really powerful experience, didn't you, in one of your journeying, where we can't recreate the past. Our ancestors don't want us to recreate the past, but there is this obsession of going back to these places, which for me is amazing, but it's now about creating the new. Also remembering the old as well at the same point, which I think is really, really important.
I got that in a vision a while ago, that repeating practices. But what I do feel these places, what we're doing is, one, we're reconnecting to the energy in the time we need it, in this time of conscious awakening, but also they're serving as a great reminder that we haven't progressed with history. In some ways we've degressed, because if you look back at some of these structures worldwide, we would struggle to do them today in modern times. And they were doing God knows when, happening So it really shows you that we had you know, there was a lot more going on, and I feel that that starts to unlock us of, of what we are capable of and have been. You know, we've been basically the only way I could put it is that there have been much greater things than we possibly give credit for sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's too easy. I mean, I might be controversial. It's too easy to say, "Oh, it's aliens," and I think for
Yeah.
me, I really feel strong that discredits really human ingenuity, human invention, human power, and imagination. Because I feel it's just lost. Things are lost in the past, and because our people didn't have a written language as such, they would have spoken a language. There's no evidence that they're found yet. I just wonder if they did a little bit more searching, excavating around Avebury, and a little bit more research and money pumped into it. What would they find?
Yeah.
Now,
And
now,
a
go on.
fantastic site, 100%, and I would recommend anybody, even if you're not from the UK, if you're visiting the UK, to visit it. And what myself and Stephen would be able to do is we've visited about 3 other sites in the area. So there's all these little, and I like the ones that are a little bit
Secluded, away from
secluded.
the
They're not mentioned as much. So we've managed to visit those as well and do a full sort of trip of the area, get the very full experience. And we had quite a few powerful experiences on a couple of the other sites we went in.
Yeah, so the next site that we went to, which is basically when you're at Avebury, you can actually, if you're up to a lot of the walking, we did mainly the centre of Avebury, and then at the outskirts there's other spiritual sites, some that are well known, others that are not. One of them was the Silbury Hill, which you can only by car sort of get to the car park, and you can't go near it really. I felt actually quite energetically charged, more at the side on the lower mound, where I felt really powerful, which was at the sanctuary. Do you remember the little sanctuary there we went, and we sat and we had a bit of a meditation, and had some pictures lying down on the floor. And I felt the energy there really, really calming, really very. And I felt, I call it channeling or downloads, just a word, but I just felt a lot of sort of magic that was used there, which for me it was really powerful, really nice. And then we looked over to the hill, and it was called the West or the East Kennet Mound. You can actually walk into that, so we actually drove down, but you can actually walk through the fields. And I quite like that. I felt, well, they say it was a burial ground, and you could imagine a lot of the mounds there now have been demolished because the agriculture farmers have knocked it down. Obviously, did not appreciate the archaeological significance of these mounds. There's not many mounds left. But you could imagine in the ancient times people wanting to be buried near something that was really, really
and it was mentioned
spiritual.
People wanting to be buried around Avebury as well.
Yeah.
Was being mentioned. Another thing, just tracking back to Avebury, was that I couldn't stop getting the vision of giants as well.
Oh, you keep saying
taller beings,
taller
all the time. It wouldn't leave me, and it wouldn't leave me, that one, yeah. So that site you just talked about, that was really when we went into. It was like a cave, really, within the structure, and that was really powerful as well.
Yeah, and I could really feel sort of the stone energy, very much land energy, because we live in Fleetwood in Lancashire, we were surrounded by so much water, and it'd be actually going into more central England or sort of more the countryside. We feel more of the land energy.
Oh, it's amazing, and we actually went to, because we actually felt a bit bunged up for whatever reason.
Coming from Glastonbury, wasn't it?
Yeah, whether that was a bit of a clearing of our upper chakras, because obviously we're here for a bit of a break in a way to re-energise ourselves. So I feel there was a little bit of that going on, and we went to a forest this morning nearby that Stephen found again. He's done it again, pinned it on the map, and
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh, and the air, it was like the oxygen and the fresh air, and it just seemed to clear all those, anything with the sinus. And it was lovely, and we walked around there for about an hour, and some magnificent trees. And
I can't remember what the forest was called, but we stopped when we were in Avebury. We stopped in a place called Marlborough, which is just like a 8-minute drive away from Avebury. I would have loved to stay actually in Avebury, and it was nice. It was good. Very oldie worldy. That's an old energy in itself. I felt very much like Civil War, the English Civil War.
What did you say? It looked like more Edwardian.
Edwardian, but also a lot older. The thatch roof for me it looked more from like the from the 1600s, that sort of vibe energy, the Civil War, War of the Roses kind of thing. But the forest there, you could probably Google it, which was a 3-minute drive from our B&B, and we went first thing in the morning, didn't we? And we did like a 2-hour walk, and we only went halfway up into the forest, but we felt so grounded. The trees were so old and magnificent.
So we've had a full experience. We're on our last day here. That's found us in. As we're looking around here, we could see farmland for as far as the eye can see, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's a beautiful evening here, and the air is so fresh. It's lovely to be in this energy, and always myself and Stephen were very grateful that these things just come together.
I just want to ask you, Chris, really, before we finish off with this little short podcast, is talking about what you found out with Rob in the first podcast about going to Avebury. What would you describe the experience? Do you feel like you've had a bit of a spiritual awakening, or what's come up?
I feel like things will unfold, but in terms of me, I feel like there's been a bit of a clearing within me, but also I feel like I didn't know this place existed as well, so it's opened that up to me as well. I want to come again. You know.
Do you want to go back to Avebury again?
Yeah, I want to come back to this area. There's a lot more to look at. That you can spend so much time walking, and I'm so pleased that myself and Stephen, we haven't rushed anything. So we've really been taking our time to walk places, to sit, and to really immerse ourselves. And it's been a fantastic trip that's not over yet.
No, it's not. And I found on our way back tomorrow, back to Lancashire, not far from Clarkson's farm, there is another stone circle.
Yeah.
Which we might pop in and have another go to collect energy. So anybody that's doing any of this kind of work, take your time, sit, connect, remember
and connect with us. You're watching this podcast, we just thought we'd do a little journal really and share it with everyone, our community, our friends, and drop some comments. Have you been to Avebury? Have you been to any of these sites? I'm sure loads of people have, in Glastonbury, and let us know. Maybe you live in the local area. Like you say, we're only talking from a first experience here, so
one of many, but obviously 100%. It's awakened something in you, Chris, from a past life, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so and much gratitude to Rob as well for passing that message on from Spirit.
I wonder what the next message will be. Will be Scotland, will be Mauritius. Maybe.
Yeah, watch us out. Maybe this will just turn into a travel blog in the future. But yeah, thanks a lot for listening to this episode. We're going to enjoy the rest of the evening and tomorrow in these beautiful surroundings. So until we speak again, sending our love. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.